Today we are 3D printing and building NASA's X-33. This would have been the craft that would have replaced the shuttle, and it had the famous aerospike engine that always looked really cool in like concept art and stuff, but of course never actually got made. So this is a free 3D model. I'll have a link in the description below if you want to check it out. But he has a series of these, and you can actually buy all the other stuff that he's made as well, as he's got all kinds of like space-based stuff that he's designed up, and it looks really freaking cool. So yeah, here are all the parts, and it's relatively simple to print, relatively simple to put together as well. It could be better in a few places, but really only in small bits. It's all about just printing them in the right kind of orientation and such to hopefully get it looking good. And then it's a matter of just gluing it together. I think I would like it if this bottom part here was actually just one piece. So this actual bit was also just fitted onto it in one 3D print. But having it in two makes it so that if you do kind of have trouble printing this, especially in the orientation I went for, which was vertical straight up, then it's easier to get two bits printed off rather than just one. Although these bits did need a little bit of support to make sure that they printed okay. And then it's a matter of just gluing them together and trying to do it in a way that hopefully it was all going to hold up. It's not like these bits have really nice clips to go into, but certainly once you put this bit on top, it all starts coming together really, really well, and it's not going to come apart, especially with the glue I'm using here. So yeah, I went with plenty glue, hoping to kind of hold this whole thing together. And like I say, no clips for on these kind of parts. There is a bit better clips on the other parts, but for these bits, I did want to kind of go, as you can see, I'm kind of test fitting it here with this slow acting super glue. And I was like, I'm going to need a lot more glue. So I went around all the edge and just dabbed it in to hopefully get it with enough glue to keep it together. And as soon as it then solidifies, we should be with a pretty solid kind of hull for this thing that should look cool. Now, the other thing is I printed this in grey and black because I don't have any white. If I did have white, we could have gone with white and black, and that would have looked far more NASA, as that was the original kind of color scheme that it would have gone with. But in this, we're going with black and grey. And in a lot of my recent 3D printing projects, I've been painting everything as well, but this, I want to just keep it as the bare plastic. And then once I've got enough glue, or at least I think I've got enough glue, we put the top on, and then I've got rubber bands to hold this whole thing together so that it can set nice and solid. And yeah, it looks cool. Now the grey part, you'll notice there was kind of like the elements you can see from the where the 3D nozzle finishes and then starts the new part. So when I was doing the original slicing, I should have switched it around so that all those imperfections were on the other side of the top there, which is a bit of a pity because of course that's the part you see the most of, and you can clearly see that we've got that kind of problem with the print. But with the black, I got it perfect. I actually made sure to turn that around to get it right. But yeah, totally messed up with the grey. Anyway, installing the nose cone here, and then we're going to go ahead and get this all banded up so that it will nicely solidify, and then we'll come back. And this glue takes maybe 10-15 minutes to harden. It's a nice slow acting super glue, which means if I mess up, I can go ahead and change things before there's any kind of trouble. So yeah, jumping ahead to the future, we're now taking the bands off, and this thing has completely solidified, so it's now one solid piece. And we can go ahead and add on all the wings and wing tips and everything and whatever the heck all this stuff is. But really quite well made model. So these all seem to go in relatively well, apart from the very back bits. They were a little bit more of a trouble to get in. But these bits were actually great, and they just really slotted in. And it still amazes me even today, now that I've been doing it for 6 months, that how well stuff can print. Like the tolerances can be so perfect. It's as if you went into a store, got exactly a model kit that is made, of course, perfect, and it all slots together. And these bits made at home all just slot together. It's insane. It still blows my mind right now. And you can see how this guy's 3D model of the wing kind of tips here actually curve with the actual side of the vessel. So it all just beautifully comes together. It looks great. I wonder if there's an alternate reality out there where this thing actually got built, because I would have loved to have seen this launch and probably come back and land as well. That would be quite a sight to see. It is, I think it's massive. I don't actually know the scale of it, but I'm pretty sure it's not small. I think it's bigger than the old space shuttle. And now we have pretty much what SpaceX and stuff like that, which is just basically very boring looking shuttle, kind of just flying dildo look to it. Whereas this thing looks freaking sweet. But obviously, I guess the engine just never worked out. And that would be another thing that I see, because that engine looked pretty insane in the concept arts going off. But yeah, now we're putting on a little bits. I'm totally putting on more glue than I need to here, but I can always trim that back with a knife if it becomes an issue later. And then we've got our actual little kind of wing tips at the back here to install. And then we're going to have the aerospike engine as well. And these little flaps at the back were definitely the most pain in the ass part to do for sure. The rest slotted in great. These were just not perfect. And I don't know if I didn't clean them up enough or if it was because this part was on the base, so maybe it wasn't quite as sharp as it could have been. But we did manage to get them all installed, and I think it ends up actually looking pretty good in the end. But yeah, we're just putting on the last fin now, and then we're going to go and put the aerospike engine on, and we will be done. So this part here is the aerospike engine. Very simple looking bit, but once it goes on, it really just completes the model, and I'm super happy with this thing. It looks really freaking cool. So that's a little test fit there. You can see it fits on pretty damn well without any glue, but we're going to put glue in there just in case so that it holds it all together. And I've learned to just use quite a lot of this glue. Not that I'll, it doesn't need a lot, but I figure more is better, I think. But there we go. She is installed and we're now finished. There is a base you can print as well, but I decided not to bother with that. And this is really cool. I think this looks like an absolutely brilliant little toy. I could totally see a kid playing with this thing. Probably quite easy to break, but it does look brilliant. And then you can see my imperfections. That was the one mistake, and that's still a newbie mistake I'm making, whereas I actually did turn the black around so that we didn't have that same mistake on the bottom. I just didn't think about that when I was, because I sliced all the parts up in one go, and I should have gone, yeah, I could turn that around and solve that issue. But yeah, it looks superb. If I could do it in black and white, that would be really cool. And if I could, I'd also maybe combine those two black bits at the bottom into one piece. I think I could 3D print them no problem as a winner. And overall, that would just make it a little bit nicer when it put together, because it would give it an overall better shape, I think, rather than have that line underneath. But yeah, that is the X-33, and she is gorgeous, really nice. Like I say, the guy has a whole bunch of different models for different kind of like NASA stuff that are paid for, and this is kind of like the free sample you can check out and download. And I'd recommend it. It's well worth a print.